Welcome back, guys, and welcome to another BFR. Hawks have not played in a good 4 or 5 days, and today they came out and played some of the worst hockey they've played all year. As Game 40, they play the Minnesota Wild at home, and it was January 21st, 7:30 p.m. They faced off. Minnesota wins 5-1, and the Hawks go to 15-19-6. Shots were 36-30 Chicago, hits were 29-23 Chicago, and faceoffs were 23-22 Minnesota. Stats would say that Chicago should have won this game, and would have at least been close if they had lost. Chicago 0-3 on the power play, Minnesota 0-2. Fleury saves 9 out of 13, Lankinen saves 16 out of 17 in relief, and Kokkonen saves 35 out of 36. Great game from him. To be honest, they didn't have many chances, though, the Hawks, so it really wasn't great. Seth Jones returned tonight, and Strome also returned off the protocol list. So, and Kara and Caleb Jones were not playing. So we go to the only things I wanted to mention before the game. How if you watch the SDPN podcast, they had like a segment about the Steve Dangle podcast. They had a segment about who would be a great broadcasters who are currently NHL players. I mentioned Marchand's thing in the Marchand video that went viral. He took a fan's phone from the stands, recorded a video of himself, and then gave it back to the fan. So I don't like Marchand as a player. I respect him for his talent. I don't respect him for the way he plays, but that was a pretty cool thing for him to do. And it was also Kirby Dach's birthday, so happy birthday to Kirby Dach yesterday. Wasn't the present I'm sure he was hoping for, as early in the first at 1938, it's a Minnesota penalty, Foligno for tripping. He tripped Seth Jones. The stick got stuck in between the skates of Jones, so he went absolutely cruising into the boards, and he couldn't stop himself. He went hard. I'm like, oh no, he's not done already, is he? He was slow to get up, and he basically waddled to the bench. And I was worried he would play on, though. Then at 17:02, after that penalty is killed, it was a Minnesota goal from Marcus Foligno right out of the box, his 15th of the season from Addison. And yeah, that was just a great start. And then at 15:53, about a little less than 2 minutes later, and a little over a minute later, Minnesota goal from Ryan Hartman, his 17th of the season from Kaprizov and Zuccarello to make it 2-0. Then DeHaan falls awkwardly. He would be fine. Fleury 3 consecutive saves. Wild controlling play. Wild were very aggressive. Hawks couldn't even get the puck out of their zone. And then on that second goal, Jones' arm, he blocked a shot prior to it going in. His arm seemed to go limp for a few seconds. It was so strange. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's taking a beating. That's what came out of tonight. The Hawks were physically beaten on the scoreboard. They were beaten physically. They were beaten, and they just didn't look ready to play. Jones, he took the worst of it. He first came back off protocol list. He got tripped, went flying into the boards already. Then he blocks the shot. His arm just goes limp, so it's hanging like this, and just he can't really move it, and it looks horrifying on the ice. And yeah, he would keep playing though. My respect for him to keep playing. 11:54 Minnesota penalty to Zuccarello for hooking. It would be killed, and then at Strome chance was saved by Kokkonen, but then at 7:42, 2 fights break out, and then it's Stillman versus Duhamel, and then Entwistle versus Dewar. Stillman wins the fight against Duhamel, and then Dewar, I would say, beat Entwistle in his fight. Stillman and Duhamel get the 5 minutes for each, and then Entwistle and Dewar get 5 minutes and a game misconduct for some reason. I'm not sure what went on that they both got a game misconduct, but I don't know. The Hawks' power play prior to that was pretty bad, I wrote down at that point. And then Zuccarello cross-checked DeHaan into boards, and there was no penalty. And then Kane made a fantastic move near the end of the period. But at 2:48, Minnesota goal to Ryan Hartman, his second of the game, 18th of the season. The former Blackhawk showing that we shouldn't have traded him as we lose another trade. His 18th of the season from Zuccarello and Kaprizov once again to make it 3-0. And then Gaudreau hit the post, Frederick Gaudreau. Jones was hit hard by Foligno, and then he was hit again. And then Hagel was boarded, and there was no penalty. Hawks were just taking some runs at players at this point. They needed a chip on their shoulder, try to get some energy back into this game. And it wouldn't really work. I'm going to be honest. The Hawks had more shots in the first. In fact, they had more shots in every period of the entire game, I'm pretty sure. Now we go to the second period, where at 16:43, it's a Chicago penalty to Tays for high sticking, which would be killed. But then at 12:10, it's a Minnesota penalty for too many men, which would be killed. It would be served by Zuccarello. And that was a kind of a mad power play. Definitely, they didn't have a great power play. All three were not great power plays whatsoever. There was a long delay in the penalty, and the delayed penalty for Minnesota was more dangerous, I think, than their power play. And then McCabe had a chance that was stopped on a blast. The Hawks were controlling play at this point. Big save on Goligoski. Kane nearly had a breakaway. Hagel was hit, but he was slow to get up. He would be fine. And then at 7:55, it's a Minnesota goal to Kalen Addison, his second of the season from Merrill and Foligno to make it 4-0. I will say Marcus Foligno, he's having his breakout year this year. He's been great. I will give him credit where credit's due. I've liked the way he's played this year. Then there was a bit that Kalen Addison goal. It was a slap shot, pounded it right through, then it deflected off Dahan and it went in. Can't really do much about that, but Fleury was out, and then Lankinen was in, and the shots were 27-14 Chicago 27-19 Chicago after the second period. Now we go to the third. Not much, to be honest, happened in the third. Oh, I even missed this. I missed a goal. At 3:34, there's a Minnesota goal to Brandon Duhame, his fourth of the season from Kulikov and Fiala to make it 5-0. And it was no chance for Lankinen. It was a slap pass from the top right point from up here, and then no one was even guarding Duhame, and he just had to tap it in, and it was right there. And Lankinen had no chance. I don't blame him for the goal. And yeah, that's how the period ended. So it's 5-0 after two periods, and I was thinking, okay, final score 7-1. I'd put money on it. It wouldn't get to 7-1. In the third, 18-11, Chicago penalty to Carpenter for tripping, which would be killed. And it should have been nearly 6-0 at that point. As the power play they let off a two-handed. They let 2-on-1 on the penalty kill, and Minnesota nearly opportunized another chance. Kane's defensive play was improving. I noted he was getting in. He was hitting people. He was poke checking against them. He wasn't just laying in the back as he would usually do. As I can remember the numerous times he did that. As that's kind of how he played for a long time, just waiting for the chance to go on offense. Murphy, McCabe, and Dahan, then they showed a stat, were 5th, 6th, and 7th in the league in shots blocked, so good to see our defensemen are blocking shots. Then Goudreau hit his second post of the game. Lankinen then made a good save. Goudreau breakaway was blocked. And then Stillman's arm was hurt after a hit by Fiala, and then Fiala apologized to Stillman, but Stillman, I didn't think, returned to the game. I didn't see him on the ice again, so it was good sportsmanship by Fiala to apologize to Stillman. It was a clean hit, but just the way Stillman looked, it just didn't look great, the way he landed on his arm. He was holding his arm as he went to the locker room, so I didn't see him return, though. So he might have returned, but I could have just been phased out at the time, because when your team's losing 5-0, it's never fun. Lankinen made a good save, and then DeBrincat was robbed. Then at 5:03, it's a Chicago goal from Dylan Strome to break the shutout, his fourth of the season from Hagel and Kane. It was a one-timer, no chance for Kakkonen. Just great passing all around. That's Hagel's 20th point of the season, so good job on Hagel as being worth a lot more than 1.5 for 3 years. That was a steal of a deal. I've been saying that for a while. The Hawks were pushed on the score. Then the game ended. Nothing else happened. The Hawks were punished on the score and physically. And, yeah, they took a beating. Stillman, Jones, just Hagel was being Dahan. All of them took some bad hits or were injured during the game, and that's just not great. And, yeah, so the Hawks play again tonight against Minnesota and back-to-back. This time it's in Minnesota. So maybe they can get a win tonight. Maybe that's a motivation to do better. And I assume we'll see Kara back in the lineup tonight. Maybe if Stillman's out, Caleb Jones will come back in. You never know. King's got to work his coaching magic and see if he can get a lineup that'll win a game here. But anyway, around the league, Edmonton has lost 7 in a row. They've fallen down to 7th in the Pacific. I don't think anyone saw this coming. Vancouver's moved up to 6th. Nothing new here. Dallas and Winnipeg have swapped. Nothing new in the Atlantic. Carolina, this is where the big stuff happens. Metropolitan, Carolina and Rangers swap. Islanders and Devils swap. Flyers have lost 10 in a row. And yeah, that's a division's an entire mess. And it's about that time in the East. It's in that Eastern Conference right now. You can pretty much say which teams are going to be in the playoffs, and that line is right here. Everything above Boston and above Washington is pretty much going to be in the playoffs. And in the West, it's still up for debate. Edmonton could win 20 in a row. They have McDavid and Draisaitl. They can do anything. And yeah, there's really, in the Central, it's pretty solid. It's probably going to be these top 4 teams, and maybe either Dallas comes in and pushes them out of a spot, because I just don't think Chicago, definitely not Arizona, definitely not Seattle. But I think Vancouver or Edmonton or Calgary, any of these 7 teams can be in a playoff spot by the end of the year. You never know. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.